Even though many people think Thomas Edison created a light bulb, he didn't. But he started a flash of the light bulb. What I mean by the flash is that Edison had created the first commercially viable light bulb and got spreading throughout the world. Edison created other things, but he's best known for the light bulb. Edison was a person with shocking goals and surprising inventions. If it weren't for Edison, the world would not have many things, such as a typewriter, electric pen, phonograph, motion picture camera, and alkaline storage battery. Thomas Edison, Exploring the Unknown, Encountering Courage, Exchanging Electricity by Shashank Shamshabad. One man, one goal, with one story. There once was a man that changed the world with ways of exploration, encounter, and exchange through history. This man was an inventor, an entrepreneur, investor, engineer, and creator. On February 11th, 1847, a shocking legend was born. His name was Thomas Edison. Yes, I'm talking about a man with 1,093 legal patents. Edison rose from great beginnings as a child to work as an inventor for major technology as an adult. Edison was the last of 7 children, Nancy and Samuel Edison. His mother, a school teacher, was of major significance to Edison's life. Edison had scarlet fever and ear infections when he was young, which later left him nearly deaf when he was an adult. In 1854, the Edison family moved to Port Huron in Michigan. Edison was prone to distraction and spent 12 weeks in public school. He was told by his teacher that it was quote-unquote difficult to teach him. So then, his mother's resolve was to pull him out of school and teach him herself. When Edison turned 11, he became more into studies and knowledge. When he was 12, he convinced his parents to allow him to work more during his days in education. He had started selling newspapers and made a newspaper business. Edison had also started selling newspapers at the railroads, so he had access to the railroads. He used this special access to start a small laboratory and conducted chemistry experiments. This was around the time when Edison started getting into science and chemistry. One day, the baggage car next to the place got lit on fire by a chemical experiment. The conductor rushed over, saw him, and gave him a whack to the head. Edison then kicked out and forced to sell his newspapers at other various stations. As Edison invented different railroads and worked there, he saved a 3-year-old from being hit by a train. This 3-year-old father had gratefully rewarded Edison with the opportunity to use a telegraph. By the time he turned 15, he had enough skill as a telegraph operator. Edison traveled all through the Midwest, subbing as a telegrapher for the absent operators who volunteered to fight for the Civil War. In his young man's spare time, he read huge amounts, studied, and experimented with telegraph technology, and became more familiar with electrical science. When Edison turned 19, he moved to Louisiana, Kentucky, and worked for the Associated Press. Edison was able to read and study because of the night shift. Edison later established a way of thinking through objective examination and experimentation. At first, he transcended his job because early Morse code was registered on a piece of paper. However, as technology advanced, receivers were mostly equipped with a sounding key, enabling telegraphers to read messages by the sound of clicks. This left Edison impaired, with fewer and fewer opportunities for employment. In 1868, Edison reappeared home to find his mother was falling into mental illness, and his father was out of work. The family was almost completely poor. Edison realized he needed to take control of his future. He traveled to Boston, getting a job for the Western Union Company. In his spare time, he designed and patented an electronic voting recorder which quickly counts votes in the legislature. However, Massachusetts lawmakers were not interested. Edison is desperate to help his family and is doing a good job trying. In 1869, Edison moved to New York. Here, Edison is able to develop his first successful invention. His invention is an improved version of the stock clicker. This became known as the universal stock clicker. The stock clicker synchronized several stock tickers transactions. The golden stock company is so impressed, they paid the young inventor $40,000. Edison was only 22 when this happened. With this, Edison thought he could do a lot more. So he left his job as a telegrapher to devote himself fully to inventing. This was important because Edison found out that he's a lot better than just a telegrapher. This shows first success as an inventor, but just wait, the story gets a lot better. In 1870, Thomas Edison arranged his first small laboratory and manufacturing facility and hired several machinists in Newark, New Jersey. Edison was an independent entrepreneur and had formed various partnerships and developed his items for the highest bidder. Often, that was Western Union Telegraph Company, the industry leader, but just as regularly, it was one of Western Union's rivals, In one such instance, Edison constructed for Western Union the quadruplex telegraph able to transmit two signals in two divergent directions on the same wire, but railroad tycoon J. Good took away the invention from Western Union, paying Edison more than $100,000 in cash, bonds, and stock, and paying years of litigation. As Edison became more successful, he married Mary Stilwell, who was a member of his company. During their 13-year marriage, they had 3 children, Marion, Thomas, and William, who became inventors. Mary passed away from a suspected brain tumor in 1884. By the early 1870s, Thomas Edison acquired a reputation as an outstanding inventor. In 1876, he shifted his expanding plans to Menlo Park, New Jersey, and assembled an independent industrial research facility incorporating machine shops and laboratories. That same year, Western Union motivated him to develop a communication device to go against Alexander Graham Bell's telephone. He never did. Nonetheless, in December of 1877, Edison developed a method for recording sound, the phonograph. Though never commercially viable for one more decade, the invention brought worldwide fame. Also, if you didn't know, Edison is called the Wizard of Menlo Park. This name is very popular when it comes to Edison because his research facility was there. Before I continue, you have to learn who made the first light bulb, but this was not commercially viable. The first one was made by Alessandro Volta. He made the first constructive approach of generating electricity, the voltaic pile. Made of alternating discs with zinc and copper, infused with layers of cardboard wet in salt water, the pile conducted electricity when a copper wire was linked at either end. The 1880s were an active time for Thomas Edison after being admitted a patent for developing the first commercially viable light bulb. In January 1880, Edison set out to form a company that would give the electricity to power and light the cities of the world. That same year, Edison established the Edison Illuminating Company, the first investor-owned electric utility, which later became known as General Electric Corporation, or GE, which we usually call it now. In 1881, he left Menlo Park to make areas in many cities where electrical systems were being installed, but later came back. Edison had failed more than 1,000 times, but he never gave up. Edison had encountered courage. He accomplished the phonograph and developed the motion picture camera and the alkaline storage battery as well. Edison and his team of scientists in Edison's laboratory in Menlo Park, NJ, tested more than 3,000 designs for bulbs between 1878 and 1880. In November 1879, Edison registered a patent for an electric lamp with a carbon filament. The patent listed several materials that might be used for a filament, counting cotton, linen, and wood. Edison spent the next year finding a perfect filament for his new bulb, testing more than 6,000 plants to determine which material would burn the longest. Edison had so many designs that was even more than he imagined. Before this, nobody even known about the stuff at all. Edison explored the unknown. The year of 1883 was the year that changed the world with electricity. On October 22nd, Edison spread the light bulb and got it lighting up the world. As you may know now, creating an invention and becoming successful in life is not as easy as it sounds like or looks like. Edison, with his fame growing throughout the world, had led to a non-stop rivalry with Nikola Tesla, inventor of AC current. Alba Moitra is a computer scientist at GE who holds multiple patents and is an expert on AC and DC current. Is going to talk more about them.
A lot of these big data centers, and so they typically employ they have thousands of computers in them, and so they're all going to run on DC. So you can imagine that there's AC power coming in, and then it's getting converted to DC, and that's being used. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of inefficiencies for conversion from AC to DC. So it makes sense in the future to really have...
Edison was asked to make weapons for the US military. He said that they'd only work as defensive weapons. He later noted, "I'm proud of the fact that I never invented weapons to kill." Thomas Edison died from diabetes on October 18, 1931, in West Orange, New Jersey. He was 84 years old. Many communities and corporations throughout the world dimmed their lights or for a moment turned off their power to commemorate his passing. Edison's career was a classic rags to riches story that made him a folk hero in America. By the time he died, he was one of the most well-known inventors in America. Edison showed ways of exploration by exploring new designs and new ideas for inventions. He showed ways of encountering by encountering courage after failing many times and never giving up. And of course, showed exchange through history because he exchanged electricity and got lighting up the world. And we are still using Edison's ideas. This is all the work of one man with one goal and one story. This was Thomas Edison, exploring the unknown, encountering courage, exchanging electricity.